The You Haven't Seen That movie podcast is funded by you. Thank you. Support the show by going to patreon.com/WDM1. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the You Haven't Seen That movie podcast, a bi-weekly podcast where my guest and I watch a famous movie I've never seen before and discuss it. This week, we're talking about Major League, a 1989 classic starring Tom Berenger and Charlie Sheen. I'm your host, David Lonnie Waters, and in my guest chair today, we have Wayne G.
What's going on? I'm excited to be on here and talking movies.
Oh, yeah, no. After we unfortunately have to re-record the recasted episode, but I had such a good time, and I don't think, even though I'm sure it comes across in the audio, or, you know, what you recorded or whatever, but I just want to say, man, I had a great time just getting together with you guys and talking about A Time to Kill. That was a good one.
Yeah, it's a fun concept. I have a lot of people that reach out to me and they get excited about the idea of recasting movies, you know, modern day actors and actresses that are at least 20 years old. The movies are 20 years old. And I say most people get excited. A lot of people like it, but I have had the occasional person who doesn't understand that it's an idea for a podcast. And I had one person like private message me and say, you shouldn't be remaking this movie. And I was like, I don't have $150 million to remake this movie. It's a podcast.
That would be nice, huh? Yeah, like just give me some money. I know what to do with it, right?
Let's go hire a bunch of actresses.
Oh, right. Oh my goodness. I remember you were telling me like there's not, you said that it's not necessarily criteria for it, but what was it? We were trying to keep it like modern actors, I guess, or not even modern actors. It was like, I think depending on the budget of the film, like we would try and aim for something of that caliber, right?
Yeah. So we have a couple of hard and fast rules. So the first rule is that the movie has to be at least 20 years old. So nothing newer than that. So right now we'd be going back to 2001. Or before that. And the second rule is you cannot cast anybody who was in the original, not even in a different role. And then the last one is we don't do anything that has kid actors in it. And not for anything really, like, I guess, perverted. We just don't know any kid actors from like Nickelodeon. I don't know who to even cast, you know?
Right. I mean, yeah, I was about to say you could use like references to old shows or whatever, but then that would just get complicated and all that.
But yeah, budget wise is more of like a guideline. So I tell Jesse, because Jesse likes to go high and tight with the budget a lot of times. So we'll do a movie like, for example, we'll do The Breakfast Club, which was a lower budget movie. None of those people were known at the time that they did it. And he's casting, you know, Tom Cruise and whoever else. I'm like, they can't afford that.
Right. John Hughes at that time. Oh, Lord. Oh, that's fun. That's fun. I like The Breakfast Club, honestly. It's very... I don't think of it like, everybody thinks of it as like godsend movie, and I'm like, it's good. It's a good like John Hughes movie. Like, you know, there's a 16 Candles that I've put on the list and that I've thought about since I've put it on the list. Apparently, isn't that the one where he puts the like boom box above his head? And
no, that's
girl comes out.
That's Say Anything. With John Cusack. Yeah. So the 16 Candles is Molly Ringwald. It's her 16th birthday, but I think her sister's getting married. And so people are kind of forgetting about her birthday. And she has a crush on Jake Ryan or whatever his name is. He's the popular football kid or whatever. Anthony Michael Hall's in it because he's in every single, you know, John Hughes movie.
Classic.
But yeah, it's not a bad movie. I mean, it's not John Hughes' best. Obviously, you know, the vacation movies are great. I like Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah.
And of course, The Breakfast Club is fantastic.
Right. Yeah. Just classics all around. He's a good. I like John Hughes. John Hughes is really solid. He makes a solid movie.
He does. The only thing that I think I was curious about, because they have what's called the Hughes verse, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it's the John Hughes verse. Because everything takes place
come again?
Yeah, it takes place in Shermer, Illinois, right? And so Shermer High School. And so Ferris Bueller, for example, is at Shermer High School, but so is The Breakfast Club, which was filmed a year before Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So Ferris Bueller is the most popular kid in the school. If it was a true Hughes verse, wouldn't those kids know who Ferris Bueller was? Like, they make no reference to him.
Unless he just fell from grace.
I guess.
Lordy. Well, okay, cool. Wayne, yeah, nice to have you on. I'm very glad. Did you want to plug anything before we get started? You want to wait until the end?
Sure. No, I'll throw it out there. Just we talked about it, the Recasted Podcast. It's on Twitter at Recasted Podcast and on Instagram at Recasted Podcast 8. And yeah, we talk about movies, like I said, recast them 20 years after the fact or more. And most recently was this past weekend we did Gone in 60 Seconds. And so far, Jesse is actually beating me in the cast because we put it out for a vote. We post the cast side by side and we put it out for a vote. And Jesse beat me on Goodfellas, and it looks like he's going to beat me on Gone in 60 Seconds.
Oh, okay. Those are both ones I've never seen. So I have to actually say I've watched like the first 5 minutes of Goodfellas, and then that was it. I didn't get really much anything, but that one's I'm very excited to watch Goodfellas.
It's fantastic.
60 Seconds. Which one's that one?
That's Nicolas Cage has to steal a bunch of cars in one night.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know. I knows it. Okay, very cool, very cool. Yeah, no, it's a good time. Definitely check it out. I'll put some links in the show notes. Make it easier on y'all. So, Wayne, how have you been?
I've been doing great.
You said you got a new job right whenever we started. When we joined this little Zoom meeting we got going on.
Yeah, I kind of got a new job. My old job was a lot of phone calls. This new job is more in-person sales. I've been in sales for 20 years. So it's just a matter of finding the right fit. I can't just sit at a desk and make calls all day. I have to be in front of people.
Right. And now what are you selling?
So I was selling commercial insurance. So any business that needed financing, I would finance it for them. And now I'm going to be doing insurance sales.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's where the buku bucks comes in.
Yeah, I guess from what I was told, the commission structure is if you're good at sales, which I feel like I am, maybe I'm just being conceited, but you can make a ton of money.
Right. Yeah. No. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Very cool. I'm happy for you. It's funny you say that because I just this week started my job at I work in higher ed in Arlington, and it's it's been interesting. I'm actually surprised I had time to I fit you in here. So for that, I'm glad. Before we kind of get into it, I just want to say if you want to show your support for the You Haven't Seen That Movie podcast, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/WDM1, as well as our Facebook and Instagram pages. Yeah, a lot of good stuff over there. Wayne, actually, I personally enjoy your Instagram. It's I don't use Twitter very much, but the Instagram it still gives me what I want.
Right. No, I'm glad because we post on Twitter and Instagram. I find that Twitter is growing a lot faster than Instagram, and I'm not sure why that is, but we use all the platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It just seems like Twitter is the one that grows the quickest.
Interesting. Maybe I'll have to give it a shot. Maybe I think with many social medias, I had classes in college that forced me to use them. So I was just like, no, I don't want to try that out. And I remember Twitter being, I think I had a teaching assistant class with it. Like I had to go out to these schools and make a Twitter and put my lesson plan and shit on there. I was like, I don't. Oof.
Well, I hate to sound like the old guy. I mean, I'm 42 years old. And so my newest thing is I have a sports podcast as well. And I promote it on TikTok. And I will not use TikTok myself. I will not go on there and watch videos, but I do post my own videos on there, which hopefully steer people towards the podcast.
Right. Yeah. I had made one for the movie podcast, but I was just like, oh, no. I had made it, and then I was like, I'm going to do something with it. And I just can never find the time to record, because I love scrolling through TikTok. I'll waste a couple and half an hour tops sitting in the backyard or whatever, just, enjoying the day. But oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm just worried I'll become that middle-aged person who shouldn't be on there. I don't know what the equivalent is for men, but I know the women that get the nose ring when they're 40. I don't know what it is for men, but going on TikTok, I don't know.
It's something close to it, right? That's funny. Oh, cool. So yeah, let's get into some of our opening segments. Wayne, what have you been watching as of late? I know you talked a little bit about it before, but let's go into it.
Yeah, for sure. So I've had some downtime to watch quite a few shows and movies. And one that Jesse turned me on to, and I watched all 3 seasons in a week, was Daredevil on Netflix. and loved it because
that's a lot to watch.
It is, and he had promoted it because when we did Goodfellas, not to spoil it for anybody, but for his Paulie character, he chose Vincent D'Onofrio, and he told me, he said, you have to watch Daredevil. He's so good as Kingpin. And so I said, all right, I'll turn it on. I'll start watching it. And oh my goodness, I love it. I absolutely love it.
He plays the best Kingpin ever. Like I think the second best incarnation of Kingpin is like the old Spider-Man, like 90s cartoon.
Right.
I think the Amazing Spider-Man. I think that's the second best incarnation. But oh my gosh, and the Daredevil. That I think it's that first season he fights Kingpin. Am I right in that?
They do tussle a little bit. I know that season 2 they introduced the Punisher, which got me all kinds of excited. When he was hunting down all the different people who were being killed, the gang members, and they said it's just one man, and you see him walking down the hallway in the hospital. I almost jumped off the couch. I was like, it's the Punisher.
Right. Yeah. I it's so cliche to like the Punisher, like, but I quite enjoy it. It's like, I like the anti-hero, that sort of thing. I always like Venom in that way because he's kind of more evil, but less, crazy with it, I guess.
Well, they just have a difference in philosophy. Daredevil doesn't kill people, and Punisher only kills people. And when they talk about their philosophies in the show, I actually side with the Punisher more because he's like, listen, if you put these people in jail, they get out of jail, they do the same thing over again. Like, I'm just ending it.
Right. Yeah. I think that's a great part of that second season where they're having like that philosophical, but Daredevil's like tied up or whatever. Yep. And oh, that's good TV. If you haven't watched that, definitely go watch Daredevil season 1 through 3. I couldn't recommend them. The third one, it kind of teeters off. I like Elektra being in there, but it's kind of, I don't know, retreading kind of the same storyline a little bit, I guess.
They introduced new characters, and the thing that got me really excited is seeing that Charlie Cox is going to be playing Matt Murdock in Spider-Man No Way Home.
Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, that's cool. That would be cool if they could like rip those characters out and just, I mean, they can now. I actually just finished Loki. I think, since I've recorded the last podcast, I kind of just binged that all. Yeah, it was a good time. Have you ever, that's maybe something you should put on your watch list, Wayne?
Oh, no need. I watched them every episode when they came out. I'm a Marvel junkie, so anything Marvel I'll watch. And I did like Loki. Here's my only, where I disagree with the quote unquote critics or experts, whatever you want to call it, is
okay. What's that?
They all say that Loki is the best Disney Plus Marvel series. I still liked Falcon and the Winter Soldier better.
Ooh, you and I are on the same page in that. I love the like that introduction of the new Captain America and him being he had PTSD and he just like kind of went crazy berserk in the middle of the show, and then like from there I was like, man, I'm hooked. Like, you got me. So good times. But I think out of all three, definitely I would put it Falcon, Winter Soldier, then Loki, then WandaVision. WandaVision had a cool, like, I don't know, premise to it, like shifting decades and then the TV shows with it. But other than that, it's a pretty bland story. Well, I mean, okay, I say bland, but Marvel just keeps doing it. Like, they got something for me. I know it's not everybody's tea, but anyways, let's see. Remind everybody about the Patreon. Just remember patreon.com/WDM1. You'll get the episodes early. And you'll also, if you subscribe to the $1 tier, you'll get a monthly podcast. And actually, I was going to ask you about this, Wayne. I've been, kind of like spitballing what I was going to do for the first monthly, bonus episode that I was going to do for the Patreon. And have you ever seen There Will Be Blood with Daniel Day-Lewis?
Yep, I've seen that. And
that movie is so good. And I think I could just pontificate for probably like 30, 45 minutes about that.
Well, the thing about Daniel Day-Lewis, right, is the characters that he plays are so epic and so timeless, in the sense that, I mean, you think about that character in There Will Be Blood is a phenomenal character, to the point that I actually think he carries that movie so much. The movie itself built around him, I don't think has a lot of substance, but he carries it.
Right. Like whenever, so I was just scrolling through Netflix one day. I was house sitting for a friend of mine and was there by myself hanging out with this dog and this cat. And I just scrolled across it. I was like, you know what? Like it was the day before I started my new job. So I was like, David, you relax, you watch a movie on your own. Don't even have to work, enjoy it. How I, try to typically do for the, movie podcast. But I sat and watched it without any, anything going on, like not taking notes or anything. And oh my gosh, does Daniel Day-Lewis knock it out of the park with that? He specifically, I'm thinking of whenever people think of it, they think of Gangs of New York.
Mm-hmm.
That one's pretty good. I like that one. Also, Lincoln's another one that he apparently is wonderful in, but I haven't seen that one.
Right.
But
Last of the Mohegans is one of the ones he's always known for.
Oh, that is right. Last of the Mohegans. I remember browsing through his IMDb page the other day. But yeah, no, I think that's what I'll do. I could pontificate. I think because I think he's a great character actor, just like kind of Leonardo DiCaprio, but is apparently an asshole in real life, and he just wants to stay to his own thing. Apparently, he's he cobbles shoes. He makes shoes, so it's kind of interesting.
He seems like one of those weird method actors that really just gets into that role and doesn't break character for the whole time you're on set. Just takes it very seriously. And that's good. That's why his roles are so fantastic. You know who I think is a modern day Daniel Day-Lewis? Not that Daniel Day-Lewis is that old, but a younger actor who I think every time I see him, I'm like, this guy is so fantastic, but I bet he's a douchebag in real life, is Edward Norton.
Oh, totally. He definitely looks like he's an asshole.
Right.
After I don't know what exactly happened with him with the Marvel contract thing, but I just remember reading all these articles about him being an asshole to everyone, and I'm just like, hey, because he's known for Fight Club. Fight Club's it's a great movie, but
well, I mean, he's been in
not
a lot
enough for you to get a pass.
When I think of him, because like I said, he's tremendous in everything he's in. And even the movie Birdman, I think won Best Picture a while back with Michael Keaton. And he's in it, and he outdoes Keaton all the way. He's so good in it. And then I always think of him as American History X, as the neo-Nazi.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Primal Fear with Richard Gere.
Oh, yeah, man, pulling out some good ones. All right, cool. So that's really all we have for the opening. Let's go ahead and jump into Major League. So Wayne, you've definitely seen this movie before. Whenever we got together to do A Time to Kill, that first time, you had mentioned that that was one of your favorite, because you said you were doing a sports podcast. So that's, I assume one interest into it. But you want to expand a little bit more?
Sure. I mean, the movie came out in 1989. I was turning 10 years old at the time. I played Little League growing up. I played baseball all the way through high school. And baseball has always been an interest of mine. And so any sort of movie too, because I'm a big movie guy, as I mentioned earlier, but you take sports and movies and you put them together and I'm automatically hooked. And I think this was the very first ever sports movie that I remember seeing. And It became my favorite. It's about baseball and I've seen it over 100 times. I've memorized almost all the dialogue.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I was about to say, I definitely so I'm not a big personal fan of baseball. I enjoy going and the spirit of going there. I'm sure baseball fans are just fuck these assholes, come and enjoy our space. But yeah, no, I love going. I love the feeling of I like to get a hot dog. I wouldn't get the foam finger because I look like the asshole. That's definitely standing out. But no, I like the organ. I definitely think of the organ every time. But yeah, so whenever you first mentioned this movie, I had never heard of it before, and I think the poster is a baseball with a mohawk on it, and I was just okay, all right, I can dig it. I like baseball enough. So the reason I dislike baseball just a teeny bit was One time I can't remember. I was back in high school, and we went to. I live here in North Texas, and we went to a Rough Riders game, and it's just like some minor league over here. And we sat, and it went all 9 innings. Nobody scored anything, and it kept going like another inning, another inning, another inning. I was like, dude, when is this fucking game gonna be over? Like, I want to go home and sleep. So
well, and what's funny about
that's my duality.
Is you mentioned that, and I think of one of the other baseball movies that I really enjoyed was with Tom Selleck. It's called Mr. Baseball. And he is a New York Yankee that gets shipped over to Japan to play for a Japanese team. And they don't have games that, go until you win. After 15 innings, the game's over, regardless. So at one point, he's running back out into the field. His teammate's like, no, the game's over. And he's like, no, it's 4-4. Because the game can't end in a goddamn tie.
Right. Yeah, no, that's something that I really do love, like football, like soccer. And that's one thing that really irritates me with that is tying on that. Like, I understand, like, once you get into the point system above, I just like the win or lose aspect, and then the other thing I think of whenever, you first came to me was the Charlie Sheen was in it. Mm-hmm. And, he is definitely younger in this movie. I know him from like 2.5 Men. So like I grew up, that's what my dad was watching when we were growing up. And, so yeah, it's definitely a, different light of, different era. I think he's in Ferris Bueller for a split second whenever the lady, his sister's at the police station,
right?
Just for like a quick bit, but other than that, I haven't seen Charlie Sheen, like young Charlie Sheen, do his thing. So it was quite interesting. Yeah.
So he was in Platoon with Tom Berenger, which is obviously a classic Oliver Stone film, and much more dramatic. It's not a comedy, obviously. It's very dramatic.
Yes. And, I think I've watched like the first 10 minutes of that one too. So
and then the other sports movie that he was in the movie Lucas with Corey Haim back in the day. He's a football player. He's like a jock. But he was in a lot of stuff when he was younger. I mean, he's from a acting family, so he was in a lot.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. Just kind of get brought up in it. But I wonder if like he even wanted, I'm sure like it's out there in some biography he's done. Love the cocaine bit he did. Oh Lord, they like made it into songs and stuff. Anyway, so I'm getting off track. But yeah, no, everybody like kind of. I think the public eye kind of dislikes him, but I quite enjoy him just for he always played like some type of bad boy, but like funny bad boy. So like I kind of like that.
Yeah, kind of like who he was in real life. He didn't really have to act a whole lot. That's kind of like who he is. And
that's a good way to put it.
What somebody had said to me was that Charlie Sheen is a guaranteed ratings boost. And not like in a Inquirer kind of way. Like when he took over from Michael J. Fox on Spin City, the ratings went up for Spin City. They do 2.5 Men. It's a top rated show on TV. Like he's ratings gold.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like it could be good or bad publicity. It's just it'll go up. Oh Lord. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and jump into the plot. It starts off pretty simple. It starts off with a lady named Rachel Phelps. She inherits the Cleveland Indians. That's the team we're focusing on here for this movie, and inherits this team from her dead husband. She is a widower and wants basically them to move from Cleveland. Doesn't like Cleveland, so wants to move it down to Miami. Obviously, a little bit sunnier over there. might be a little bit more happier. Actually, now that I'm thinking of it, that very beginning scene, it's like really like dark and brooding, and like I could just see her wanting to. She was even wearing her sunglasses in there, like thinking of Miami.
Well, and there's so many quotable in that scene when she's handing out the roster. She's like, "These are the players we're inviting to camp," and the guy's like, "This guy here is dead." She goes, "Cross him off, then."
Right? Yes, that's a great line. Great line. And then, Yeah, that's a great part. I love that beginning part. It kind of gives me like Godfather vibes. Like it's all the attention's all on her. So I thought I didn't know this is how it was being set up, but I actually jumped into it really quick because she, like you said, she did hand out the roster, and only I guess the worst of the worst were on it, and that's when we kind of jumped to training camp,
right?
And that's when we kind of get the highlight of each character. So I kind of wanted to go through just kind of like the high point characters. There's I'm sure there's a few that I miss in here, and I think Wayne, you said you may have added a few or whatever, but let's start off with let's see, the third baseman. That was Roger Dorn.
I'm actually wearing my Roger Dorn jersey right now.
It said whenever I was reading his description, it was a prima donna, and you could say that he didn't want to get like hit by the ball whenever he didn't want to get down or whatever and get in front of it. So, what do you think of the prima donna Roger Dorn?
Well, like I said, he's my favorite character in the movie, and I'm wearing my Roger Dorn Cleveland Indians jersey right now.
Nice.
When I was looking at getting a major league jersey, everyone has 99 Rick Vaughn or 00 Willie Mays Hayes, right? And I said, I want to get something different. I want to get 24 Roger Dorn, because he is such a dick in this movie. He's all around it. And it's not even just the effort and the prima donna. He's just an asshole. And I kind of really liked that about him. I don't know what it was. He's just the perfect jerk. But like you said, yeah, just the ground balls, right from the very beginning in training camp, right? The coach says to him, he's like, get in front of the damn ball. He's like, I took one of those in the eye last year. I'm about to lose my sight. Because I'm deeply moved.
Like bringing his contract out and like showing the coach, he's like, hey, it's in my contract. I can't do this.
Yeah. I don't have to do any calisthenics I don't feel are necessary. So what do you think about that? And he pisses on his contract.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. Throughout the whole movie, he was a likable asshole. Like, I think there's a portion with his wife that goes down, and he storms into that final championship game just huffy puffy, and there's actually no resolution until the end of the movie, but we'll get into that in a little bit. So definitely enjoyed his character. And then that's when we get to, so I actually learned a new phrase today, staff ace, it being your first pitcher out on the mound. And I'm like, oh, okay. I learn something new every day. But that is played by Eddie Harris, that is Eddie Harris, played by Cecil Ross.
Chelsea Ross.
Am I getting that right? Chelsea Ross. Oh, okay. Very cool.
And people who would remember him from Rudy. He is the Notre Dame coach at the end. He's also in the movie Hoosiers. He's the guy that tries to vote Gene Hackman out of town. So he's done a few sports movies.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. He actually, his character is funny because out of, I think all of them that kind of show up kind of plain faced, him most so, but whenever they were in the locker room after that first practice, Charlie Sheen's character is just like, what the fuck is on your chest? And he's like, oh, it's just some Crisco. Yeah. Just and then he has Vagisil on his hip or something like that. And, I guess it the way you throw the ball, you can drop it another inch or whatever. And I was just like, whoa, okay.
Yeah. So for those who don't really play baseball or really watch it, so they call it Vaseline ball. You can put back in the day, you put Vaseline on the ball, some sort of clear gelatin-like material. And what it does is it makes the ball a little bit heavier. It does spin a little bit heavier to one side, and so you'll get extra movement with that kind of ball because it alters the airflow and the spin of the ball.
Oh, I see. Yeah, no, so that's fine. I was just thinking when you were saying that, I just imagine the random guy off on the side who tries to pick up the ball and it's all sticky with the Vaseline. And I was just oh, what is this? I certainly would be caught off guard, but nonetheless.
Yeah, it used to be back in the day, you would just keep a little Vaseline on the brim of your cap. And so you'd touch it a little bit. You don't put a lot on the ball. It's just a little bit because you don't need a lot. Just a little bit on the ball will alter it significantly.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Yeah, there's definitely technique behind it. None that I know of. Oh my goodness. And that's when we get to Pedro Serrano, and this is played by Dennis Haysbert.
Yep.
He is the gentleman who is into they're looking at him walking into the training camp, and he just has like on this like thick necklace, and he's like dressed in black. And later on in the movie, he like sets up this like shrine in his locker, whatever, after he gets done, locker, washroom, I don't know what you want to call it, but has this shrine, and it's him and the picture we were just talking about, the one with the Crisco. They actually have like kind of like an ideological feud in the movie. Like he's like, oh, you love Jesus Christ could throw the curveball, and I was just like, oh my god, what the hell is this?
Yeah, because I think when they first come over, he's doing like a chant in front of his locker, and it's to Jobu, is his god, the voodoo god, and he says, Jake Taylor says, "Que pasa there, Pedro?" And he says, bats are afraid of the curveball. Like street ball, I hit it very much, but I offer Jobu cigar and rum so that he'll take the fear away from the bats. And that's when Harris says, you might want to think about taking Jesus Christ as your savior instead of fooling around with all this stuff. And he says, hey, Jesus, I like him very much, but he no help with curveball. You trying to say Jesus Christ can't hit a curveball?
Oh, that part was golden. I came home from work yesterday night, and I just kind of plopped in bed and started to watch it. Definitely during that part when he retorted with that, I definitely laughed out loud. My roommate was like, "Oh."
Dennis Haysbert, I think
funny.
People may not realize, but if you watch obviously television, you see commercials. He's the State Farm guy, or Allstate. No, he's Allstate. He's the Allstate.
Oh, okay. He's the guy in the khakis.
Yeah, no. That's State Farm. State Farm is the red. So Allstate is you're in good hands with Allstate.
Oh, okay. Really?
Yeah, that's Pedro Serrano. So.
He definitely looks different now. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he's got some hair. He looks a little bit older.
Yeah, just a little bit. And this is when we kind of get to, I guess, the main three people of the movie. In my opinion, I think that's where it's kind of centered around is Jake Taylor, played by Tom Berenger, right?
Yep.
And he's the catcher for the team. They go into his backstory a little bit with his like romance, and we'll get into that. But apparently, like, was playing for this Mexican minor league, and like hurt his knees pretty bad. I'm sure you can explain it more than I can.
Yeah, well, with the catchers, obviously you're crouched all the time, and so it is a lot of wear and tear on the knees. And he's older too, so he's been doing it for a really long time. But they definitely explain when he shows up to camp. They go, this is Jake Taylor, and the coach says he's an all-star with Boston, wasn't he? And they go, yeah, I had wound up in the Mexican league. He's had some trouble with his knees. And he goes, oh, I wish we had him 2 years ago. We did 4 years ago then.
Right. And so, yeah, he kind of reminds me of like David Hasselhoff type, just kind of has that like that same hairdo going into the movie. So I quite enjoyed him. We'll get into him a little bit more. But that's when we get to my personal favorite, Willie Mays Hayes, played by Wesley Snipes. This just like from the get go, he pulls into this training camp. I think it was like New Mexico, Arizona area, whatever. And he like just pulls up in his bug, like right up to the assistant coach. And he's like, the coach is like, the parking lot's over there. And he's like trying to introduce himself like, hi. And I think I'm getting him mixed up with Arsenio Hall. Like I watched Coming to America recently.
Yeah, he has that kind of feel in this movie.
Yeah, definitely gives me that same vibe that Arsenio Hall did in Coming to America. So enjoyed his character. Yep. Do you have any thoughts on him?
He's fantastic. Obviously, I love he's so arrogant, but he's funny. And you think about the fact that he bought those black gloves. They were like, I bought 100 of these, one for every base I'm going to steal. And then even like I said, showing up to camp, right? When he pulls in, he says, Willie Mays Hayes, I play like Mays and I run like Hayes. And later when he's hitting the ball up in the air, that's when the coach says, well, you may hit like Mays, but you may run like Mays, but you hit like shit. So it's like, you should be hitting the ball on the ground and legging them out.
That's exactly the quote that I pulled for my episode notes this time. I love that line. It's so funny. And that's when we get to, I guess, Jake Taylor, Tom Berenger's character, he is, I think, the main focus of the movie. And then that's when we get to Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen is, I think, is a very prominent part of this movie. However, doesn't like have much weight behind it, to be honest. I remember we'll get into it, like where he has an affair with Roger Dorn's wife, and like unbeknownst to him. And I was just like at the end of the movie, I'm like, that was like nothing other than, Roger Dorn getting pissed and punching him at the end. But like, my goodness, Charlie Sheen, I wish you had a little bit more. I don't have context. I'm not, I wasn't 10 years old whenever this came out. But do you think that this was like kind of like the startings of his career?
He'd done a few things before. Like I said, he was in Platoon. He was in, I think, Young Guns. Yeah. He was in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He was in Lucas. So, I mean, he'd done quite a few movies before this, which is why he got one of the lead roles in it. The character itself, they really developed that tension between him and Dorn right from the jump when he first walks into the training camp and Dorn makes fun of his haircut. And then later on, Dorn puts the red sticker in his locker saying he got cut. So he yells at the manager. Dorn's always just got a thing for him. Like, he doesn't like Vaughn at all. And so that whole sleeping with Dorn's wife is kind of, the culmination of that tension.
Right. And like, to be honest, like the weight, I mean, I didn't take this movie seriously really at all, because it kind of from the outset, so, portrayed as a comedy, and, but like still though, I don't think that it really carried that portion. I think the romantic part that Jake Taylor had, that was a little bit more moving, I guess I would say.
Yeah,
but that's
with Renee Russo, right? It was the love interest for him in that. She plays Lynn Westland.
Oh, okay, yeah. She's the one person I didn't write down, but she was. What do you think of her character, the pro athlete turned librarian?
I mean, it fits for the way they wanted to develop the story. It's like you said, the whole romance is kind of like a side story on the main story of the team being bad, and so I like the character. I like that she's a former athlete, and obviously that comes into conversation when he meets Tom at Tom's apartment, right? And he's talking about how he wants his kids to grow up to do the 200-meter individual medley. And they're like, Lynn, you were an athlete. She's like, what did you do again? She's like, 200-meter individual medley.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that was like super. I think that the one couple, that older couple, I think it was the woman who was wearing the darker green. I feel like she knew that was coming. She was like, oh yeah, that's why my husband's asking right now.
No, actually, yeah, I liked that whole scene when, like, Jake, you play baseball? Who do you play for? And he says, the Indians. I'm like, here in Cleveland? I didn't know they still had a team. He goes, yeah, we got uniforms and everything. It's really great.
That's another great line of this movie. Yeah, very quotable. I'm definitely going to have to be using some of those more. And so that's kind of like the nice highlight of a lot of the main characters. Is there any other ones that you want to point out? I think I'll point out the head coach. I didn't write down his name, but he was one of the great parts of this movie.
Yeah, Lou Brown was great. So his character's name is Lou Brown. He's played by James Gammon, who's an older actor, and he does such a great job as well as being that coach that just doesn't take any BS from anybody. He's there to do a job. And even the introduction of the character, when the GM's calling him like, hey, how would you like to manage the Indians? He's like, I don't know. He's like working at a tire shop.
Yeah, he's like,
kind of like that.
He's like, come on, my guy. Like, let's do this.
I think everybody's favorite, subtle character in this movie has to be Harry Doyle, the announcer played by Bob Uecker, who's actually the announcer for the Brewers. Just hilarious.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did not know that, but I think that's exactly what I was going to bring up next. I think my some of my other favorite characters is definitely the announcer people. They just had the funny dichotomy between the two. I just love his voice and his playing off of his announcer. He doesn't even really need the announcer. I think there's a few scenes where he's the other announcer, co-announcer is not even there, and he's just kind of like riffing off of himself.
He does, and I think the one real interaction we get between the two of them is when he's thumbing through or he's going through the paperwork. He's like, tonight's post game brought to you by Christ, I can't find it. To hell with it. Or he says, or no, it's one hit. He goes, that's all we got. One goddamn hit. And he's like, you can't say goddamn on the air. He goes, don't worry. Nobody's listening anyway.
Right. Yeah. Yes, I have to agree with you. He's a great highlight to the movie. Even more so than some of the top three that we were just talking about. But that's when we kind of get into their, they started off, they're known for, the Cleveland Indians for this losing streak that they've had. And it kind of continues at least into the first couple games that they have. And, it's kind of obvious. There's those diehard fans up in the crowd who always bring out the tent and have the, drums ready to go. And there's a funny portion where they're like trying to do the wave, but they do it very poorly. Yeah,
because only four of them.
Yeah, there's only four of them. And I guess one of the, I had mentioned it earlier, there was like this voodoo versus Christianity slant with, what was it, Eddie Harris and then Pedro Serrano. Yep. They, have this thing, but another thing I guess is kind of, important to the plot is the Charlie Sheen. He's known for having a very, very he has a fastball. He has a very fast fastball. That's a weird sentence to say. But, like upper 90s but he can't see where shit, and he gets the nickname the Wild Thing.
Yep.
Just so unpredictable or whatever. And he's made to wear these glasses, and definitely everybody heckles him whenever he first puts them on.
Yeah, they look like Sally Jesse Raphael glasses. For the younger audience, they may not know who she is, but she was like a daytime TV show host, like a Dr. Phil back in the day, and she had those red rimmed glasses, and that's what it reminds me of. But even when, he's wearing the glasses and he says, you know what? After the game, I'm going to pick out a pair that's more me. And Harris says, good luck.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He did look quite funny with because we didn't mention it, but I think you mentioned something about a bad haircut, but he had this jagged, lightning-esque thing on the back of the neck. Mm-hmm. And so him with the glasses, the ball cap on, and then the back of the neck, just being very prominent. It was an interesting sight.
And kind of a culmination of what we were talking about all intersect at this point, because Charlie Sheen's character, Wild Thing Rick Vaughn, he'd been struggling finding the strike zone, right? He can throw really hard, but he throws a lot of balls, hits people, right? Which is why he got the nickname Wild Thing. He gets the glasses this game. We also have the ongoing, like you said, the religious battle going on between the two characters. And yeah. Charlie Sheen gets the glasses, and that game, Harris is supposed to start. He's supposed to pitch that game, but he walks over to the locker and he grabs a shot of rum and he says, up your butt, Joe Boo. And he takes the shot of rum. Yeah. When he goes out in the field, he says, yo, bartender, Joe Boo needs a refill. And immediately gets hit in the head with a baseball bat, which leads Rick Vaughn to get his first major league win.
Exactly. And that's just, it's funny. That part was right as he mentioned that he gets smacked in the back of the head. Somebody rogue baseball bat, it gets slammed. That must have hurt. That's one thing that I don't appreciate about baseball, but I do admire. It's just man, that's going especially somebody throwing 90 plus mile an hour fastball at you. I'm oh my gosh, that could definitely kill somebody. It's impressive. It's like David and Goliath.
Yeah, definitely. It can kill if you get hit in the right spot, and not to go too far down the baseball road, but that's one of the reasons I've always opposed, brushing guys off the plate. They say if guys crowding the plate, you throw a fastball up and in, it gets them to back up a little bit. But if that ball gets away from you, you could kill somebody. And is it really worth it to get them to back up a couple inches?
Right. There's multiple times in the movie that like Charlie Sheen. There's a portion in training camp whenever they're like testing out Charlie Sheen's abilities, and which I'll mention a little bit later. But like it just totally he throws his ball and it totally obliterates the sign that's right behind him. I can't remember exactly what it said. The sign.
It said "No Pepper."
No pepper. What is that?
Pepper is a baseball game where I believe you're kind of like bunting the baseball back and forth to each other, or you're tossing the ball back and forth really quickly. It's called Pepper, and so that's actually one of the trivia questions I usually ask people if they say that they know Major League really well. I say, what does the sign say that Charlie Sheen breaks? Because you only see it for a split second before it shatters, but it says no pepper.
Huh. Interesting. I learned something else today. Oh my gosh, I'm learning a lot about baseball. I may even pick it up. Who knows? Do you play fantasy? It just is totally off topic. Do you play fantasy baseball?
I don't. So I play fantasy football, but baseball is very involved. You have to adjust your roster every single day, and that's just too much for me.
Yeah. yeah. They do play a lot of games. So, okay, let's move on. This is let's get to, I guess, the restaurant scene. They get on this flight. Actually, maybe we'll go into this before. So, Rachel Phelps, the one who, the movie opened on, this very Don Vito Corleone intro that she had, is, upset that they're starting to, because Charlie Sheen has put on the glasses, and starting to get a little bit more accurate. They start to win, some more. Mm-hmm. I think that's just one, Charlie Sheen, and then two, like just the melding of the team or whatever. They start to, get that sauce and start to win a little bit more often than, losing every single time. And so,
right.
Rachel being mad at this kind of has taken away some amenities, the luxury amenities, like a water heater was one of them. The jet is what I was going to mention, because this is how they fly out. And I guess the first night there, that's when they go to this restaurant, and Jake Taylor, the catcher with bad knees, that's when he first runs into his like romantic fling.
Yeah, his former girlfriend Lynn. He sees her at the restaurant. He says, "That's my wife." And Willie Mays Hayes goes, "Does she know that?" And he goes, "I mean, she would. She would have been if I hadn't messed it up. Who's that guy she's with?" Because I don't know. He's not wearing a name tag. So Charlie Sheen says, "Want me to take him out back, kick the shit out of him?"
Yeah, right.
And it turns out his name is Tom. He's a lawyer, and they are getting engaged.
And they're moving in together.
That's right. So
yeah.
So I know Jake's trying to kind of get back into that. Again, he probably wouldn't even have thought of her if he hadn't seen her, but now it kind of brings up these feelings in him. And he asks her for her phone number. She gives him a fake number, which is 555-1934. All movie numbers start with 555. And then that actually goes to Cuyahoga Sheet Metal, because when he calls, the guy answers. He goes, "Cuyahoga Sheet Metal." And he goes, "You don't have anyone that working there named Lynn Westland, do you?" And he goes, "No, nobody here by that name." So.
Yeah. I wouldn't imagine it being like a sheet metal yard, but yeah. So that restaurant scene, it was interesting. Like the lawyer Tom, he was just like turning and like looking at them the whole time, and that's when we they have a lot of interactions in between that, and they start to win more, and I guess they win the divisionals. Am I missing like a story arc in between here?
Yeah, so they're not really winning, like contending, but they're just not as bad as she wants them to be to finish dead last. And so, like you said, they take away some of the amenities, hot water, the hot tub. They take away the transportation. In fact, that's a great scene as well when she walks into the locker, because he said, "I'm gonna get that bitch on the phone." And he walks in, she's standing in the locker room. She goes, "You wanted to talk to the bitch?" And he goes, Yeah. She goes, "Don't you think you should ought to cover yourself with a towel first, Mr. Brown?" He goes, "We're out of towels. I'm too old to go diving in a locker." So,
right. Yeah. He's like you said again earlier, just like no nonsense, doesn't care for any bullshit, just wants his hot water.
And so that's when obviously you get the scene. They're on the road. Charlie, the GM, Charlie Donovan's on the road with them, and he sees them in the office, and he goes, "Hey, you're doing a great job with this team, Lou." And Lou goes, "Oh, 60-61 is hardly a good job." He goes, "Well, with this team, it is." He goes, I think there's a couple all-stars in there. I think we're contenders right now." And Charlie says, "Rachel Phelps will never allow that to happen."
Right. Yeah. It's she's an interesting part of the movie, and please fill in the gaps if I'm missing anything. This is where it kind of I watched it in 2 parts last night. I fell asleep and then I woke back up and went from where I left off. But this is they get into the divisional like I guess finals. Is that what or they call them playoffs in baseball?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So this is actually before the divisionals. So baseball note for those who aren't really familiar. So back in the day when this movie was made, baseball only had 4 divisions. It was the American League East and West, the National League East and West. At the end of the season, the East and West champions play each other best of 7. Then the winners go on to the World Series. Now, since then, we've got divisionals and semi-divisionals and all this other stuff, but that didn't exist back then. The Yankees and the Indians were both in the AL East. So what happens here is obviously they have when Charlie tells the coach that, she's trying to tank the season, they all rally to try to get to the end of the season with a good record, and they end up tied.
They go off for I think it's pennant. It's close to the word pennant. It's spelled
pennant. Yeah, they want to win the pennant, which means to win their division. And they tie for first place in the AL East with the Yankees, so they have a 1-game playoff to see who goes on to the divisional or the championship.
So correct me if I'm wrong. If this movie couldn't happen today because of that, right? Like it just being.
Well, I mean,
I guess
they still have 1-game playoffs, and this would be more likely back then because there's so few divisions.
Oh,
but that's what happens. Okay, so basically, I said you had the AL East and the AL West. Normally, the AL East winner plays the ALS winner to see who goes to the World Series. Well, in this case, you have 2 guys in the AL East who have the same record. So they have to play each other 1 time, and the winner goes on to the championship.
Okay, yeah, so it could happen, just less dramatic,
right?
I guess. Okay, interesting. Man, I'm learning a lot about baseball. I'm sure I know my friend Chris Long. We did the Godfather together. I could just tell he's a big Texas Rangers fan, and we've gone a few times with him. And I just remember, I know he's just like grinding his teeth right now if he's listening. Oh my goodness. But let's see. So yeah, you even said it. Rachel Phelps, she kind of reveals her plan to the coach, and that actually rallies the team and does the exact opposite of what she was wanting. And they make this like showgirl cutout of her, and each game that they win, they can like take off a piece, revealing more. And that's so there's like that montage that goes on, and they're winning a bunch, and they kind of start taking off all the pieces, and that's where like you said, we get into where they play the New York Yankees. God damn, I cannot talk today. New York Yankees for the divisional championship,
right? Because the last game that they win to tie the Yankees is against the Chicago White Sox. And they are talking about it on the news, and that's when Roger Dorn's wife sees him going into the elevator with a girl, and that's when she makes up her mind that she's going to sleep with Charlie Sheen.
Oh, okay. I guess I didn't catch that part.
Yep.
And I was like, why is this happening? But interesting. Okay, cool. And this is, the coach, I guess before the game happens, the coach sits Charlie Sheen down, his character, and says that Harris, the other one who was the Christian, he was going to be starting instead of Harris.
Right. He says,
or instead of him, excuse me.
Right. Instead of Vaughn, he says, look, I'm going with Harris against the Yankees, even though I know it's your turn in the rotation. He's got a little bit better record against those guys. And Rick says, yeah, whatever's best for the team, but obviously he's a little blue about it.
Yeah. Wouldn't you be?
Yeah. I mean, again, he's bummed out. He's not like mad at the coach. He's just kind of bummed out that he's not playing.
Right. Well, I mean, divisional championship, you can only imagine that you would get the chance. I don't know if...
Well,
I don't know baseball, but I'm sure that like one person would go through the whole championship game.
Right. So if it's a 1-game playoff,
just getting tired and stuff,
Yeah, a 1-game playoff, you want your absolute best pitcher on the mound, because if you lose, your season's over. So you got to win this game.
Yeah.
So he's their best pitcher, but like the coach was saying, you just haven't done really well against the Yankees, so that's why we're going with Harris for this game. Like, you're better, but we're going to go with Harris because he's just got a better record against this particular team.
Right. Yeah. And they actually, earlier in the movie, they do play them once, because we get a look at a certain gentleman. His name is Clue Haywood. spelled very interesting, CLU space Haywood. Like, oh, that's crazy. They actually like make him out to be like this, like, I don't know, beast of some extraordinary talent that he has. I think I can't remember exactly what happens in the game that they played prior, but in this one he's like some actually one thing we didn't even mention is Pedro, the voodoo gentleman. He can hit a like hit it out of the park, like just if it was straight on. But I guess like if a curveball happened, you mentioned he's praying to his god, like throws it. He's the worst. Like can't even hit it. It's like so sad actually to watch.
Well, and that's the thing that was puzzled me, because obviously going into this game against the Yankees, they start Harris. They say that the Yankees are starting their curveball specialist, Steve Jackson, who I assume that they're starting a curveball specialist because they're playing against Serrano. But here's the thing. In Major League Baseball, every single starting pitcher throws a curveball. Every one of them. So you don't need a curveball specialist. Like a curveball specialist would be something like an Aaron Seeley, I guess, or like a Barry Zito, who have a great curveball, but they also throw fastballs. And so that's why I think it's so funny. It's like, all right, so we're going to start this particular guy because we're playing the Indians. But meanwhile, you see that Serrano's hitting like 289 on the season. He's got 30 home runs. Well, why didn't everyone just throw him curveballs? Why were people throwing him fastballs?
Right. Yeah. Very, very interesting. He's like known for that actually. So it's funny you point that out. Yeah. And, I put it here, but we kind of talked about it a little bit more in depth about Sheen getting together with Roger Dorn's wife.
Suzanne.
Suzanne. They meet up at this bar. Actually, he gets the news that he's not going to be the pitcher for the game. Mm-hmm. It being, Eddie chosen over him, and he goes to this bar and says he's not going to be a lot of fun. The wife approaches, says he's not going to be a lot of fun. He's kind of like in a down mood or whatever, and introduces herself, and they kind of, I'm sure you could do it better than I, but like definitely like calls for the check immediately.
Yeah. And then you see her obviously putting the dress back on the next morning. And he goes, I don't think I ever caught your name. And she says, Suzanne Dorn. He goes, Suzanne Dorn? And then she kisses him. And she goes, Mrs. Roger Dorn. And when she walks out, I guess him and Jake are roommates because Jake's in the refrigerator getting something. And she goes, oh, hey, Jake. And he sees her and he looks in the bedroom. And Charlie Sheen has his head in his hands. He goes, I had no idea who she was. I swear to God.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so that's when we get actually I think the next scene is Roger Dorn walking through the doors of the locker room, just like piping hot, ready. He's like, he asks Jake Taylor, he's like, where is Vaughn at? Like, I need Rick Vaughn's head now.
Well, yeah, because I think that he's going, it's before the game, he's getting ready to go to the stadium and he's in his house and his wife goes, honey, come here, I have to tell you something. And then it kind of cuts to like him going to the stadium and he says to Jake, Jake tells Rick, he goes, you need to get out to the bullpen before Dorn gets here. And that's when Dorn's like, "Hey, have you seen Vaughn around?" And Jake goes, "No." He goes, "If you do, let him know. I'd like to have a little word with him."
Right? Yeah. Nobody ever wants to hear that. I would hate to be in Jake Taylor's position. I don't ever want to be that person who's like, I need to talk to somebody, and you need to tell them that I need to talk to them. We're like, oh, this is weird. I don't want to be put in the middle of y'all shit. Jesus. But that was the beginning, and the game begins. We get to a point where it's 2-0, Yankees up, and Mr. Voodoo guy, he Pedro Serrano, he ties up the game. I can't remember. There's some, I guess, ritual or something that he does or whatever, but it definitely hits it out of the park, tying it up. So
yeah, it's the classic scene. Anybody who's seen the movie knows this might be one of the most famous quotes from this movie, which is where he's putting some dirt on his gloves, right, getting ready to go up and hit, and he's talking to Jobu. He's got the doll there, and he says, "Jobu, I look up to you. I go to you, but help me now. I say, fuck you, Jobu. I do it myself." And then he goes up and hits it out of the park.
Yeah, and ties up the game. It's a good part. I remember that being, I guess, the first kickoff moment. This is where we kind of get to the top of the mountain. We're going down. It's a good time. And that's when we get to the ninth inning, and that's where it stays tied. And, that's when they introduce Clu Haywood, the dude from the New York Yankees who they played prior. And Harris is told to, take it easy, and Sheen is told to come in from the bullpen. And, I believe they're the two who get lined up in the previous game that they had played, but it was just switched, I think. No, maybe that was Dorn. I think I might be wrong about that one.
I'm not sure, but I know that, definitely, Harris is up there. He's struggling. He walks a guy, and, he says, hey, I'm throwing everything I can at him, Skipper, but I got enough left, one more batter. Like, no, take a seat. You've done a good job. And that's when the coach says, get me Vaughn. And Jake goes, you mean Rick Vaughn? And he goes, I know he doesn't have a very good record against this guy, but I got a hunch he's due. And that's when Vaughn comes out. They play Wild Thing. The whole crowd erupts, right? Which to this day, and I'm kind of a side note as well, the Cleveland Indians were in the World Series like 3 or 4 years ago. And, they had LeBron James throughout the first pitch, one of the games. And there was a big movement on social media. I wanted it to happen. They wanted Charlie Sheen to throw out the first pitch for one of the games. And well, he wanted to do it, and I think Cleveland Indians had different plans, but I'm like, you got to have him come out of the bullpen, play Wild Thing. I mean, you got to, but
that would be something special. That would be because I don't know. There's 2 movies after this one, Major League 2, and then I think Back to the Minors is what it was called.
Yep.
Is he in those 2?
He's in Major League 2, which is again about the Indians. He is not in Back to the Minors because that's about the Minnesota Twins minor league system. So it's not even about the Indians. So he's in 2. And he plays Rick Vaughn again. And in 2, just to kind of, if people look at it, he's more clean cut, and he's a businessman now, and he's trying to market himself, so he doesn't want to be as bad boy as he was in the first one. So.
Oh, interesting. I think I'll have to watch that one on my own time.
Yeah.
That'd be a good one. Do you enjoy it? Have you seen it?
I don't. I think it's awful. It's absolutely atrocious. I mean, there's a couple of funny lines, but I mean, one of the antagonist in the movie is a guy named Jack Parkman. He's a catcher. He starts off on the Indians, so he's kind of taking Jake's spot. And he is a big power hitter, right? And so in batting practice, like I said, Rick Vaughn is trying to market his pitches. So he throws this is a combination slider changeup. I call it the elevator, right? And he throws it, and Jack Parkman's like, what are you doing? He goes, I'll tell you what. He goes, I've got a new pitch I'm working on. It's a combination curveball, screwball, whatever it's called. He goes, if you get a piece of it, you can rename it. So he throws it. Jack Parkman hits it into the upper deck and goes, how about the masturbator?
That's funny. Oh, well, I'm glad you told me that, because now I will know. I'll probably go on YouTube and watch the highlights.
But you mentioned, so at this point in the game, right, they bring in Rick Vaughn, and that's when Dorn comes over to him. There's this tense moment, right? Jake stands up. He's like, oh, damn, and Dorn gets over to him, puts his hand out, like, give me the ball. And Vaughn gives him the ball. He starts rubbing it. He goes, let's cut to the crap, Vaughn. I only got one thing to say to you. Strike this motherfucker out. And he gives him the ball back.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then everyone's like, all right, I guess we're cool.
Right. Yeah. Well, he gets punched at the end, right?
He gets punched in the face, yeah.
He punches Charlie Sheen in the face, and then they all continue celebrating or whatever. So it was weird. It was weird, that antagonistic relationship that they've had the whole movie, and then it kind of ceased in a moment's notice. Honestly,
it's like the team is more important than all this petty stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It was a nice thing to kind of wrap it up. Actually, speaking about that, we're wrapping it up here. We get to the Yankees, in the situation that they are. I think by this point they get Wesley Snipes' character, Willie, to the base, and then forgive me, I think they bring out this dude named coined the Duke, who's, I learned, another great closing pitcher, like a closing pitcher. I guess there's a certain word for it that I was looking at Wikipedia, but I guess head burner or something, headhunter, or
well, a headhunter is somebody who throws the ball, like I was saying, up and in a lot of fastballs up and in. They're considered a headhunter.
Oh,
because they're hunting your head. Pedro Martinez was tabbed that when he pitched back in the day. But they do mention with the Duke that the announcer, Harry Doyle, he says, this guy threw at his own kid at a father-son game.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Love the announcers. Still a very prominent, throughout this whole movie, a very prominent part. Just a quick shout out to them again. But, the Yankees bring out the Duke. He's not playing no games pitcher. And it's kind of him, Willie Mays, on the base. He's on first, still second. And, Jake Taylor is the, up to bat at the moment. So it's kind of like this. Actually, I really hadn't even thought about it before, like the complexities of like keeping that attention up, like on the people on bases, because when you play as a kid, you have no technique at all. So I've played here and there, but it was funny in that scene in particular. I was like, okay, maybe baseball takes just a little bit more effort than I thought it did. So
yeah, the play calling or the signs are pretty complicated. You see in that scene, Jake does a whole little thing, and the coach goes, "That's a hell of an idea," right? And then he says to the third base coach, he goes, "Tail," and he does something, right? And I tell people, so in Major League Baseball, the signs are so complex that there's actually sign indicators within the signs. So, for example, like you'll see them touch their nose, their chin, their ear, their nose again, right? And it might be touching your nose, let's say, as a bunt, right? But touching your nose is what's saying, I'm going to give you a sign. And then touching my ear is this is to the batter. Touching my nose again is bunt. So the reason it's complex like that is because now let's say I go touch my nose, touch my chin, touch my chest. That doesn't mean anything at all.
Oh, wow.
So the other team's looking.
Starts to make me think.
Yeah, so like the other team's looking at you doing this, and you're like, what are they trying to tell each other? Well, they're not trying to tell each other anything this time, but then next time when they do nose, ear, nose, now they're telling the guy, this is what you got to do.
Right, you could just like, it looked like for a moment they were just like making up something. They were just like brushing off their legs or their thighs and then their chest or whatever. So it was funny. I've always now while you were saying that, it had me thinking of like it's basically another language, but for baseball, and it's individualized for each team or each set of coaches or whatever. So it's like, oh my goodness, like thinking of people up in the stands, like from the other team, trying to figure out their code or their language, so to speak. It brings up a whole nother thing. Something. This is also off topic. I've been thinking about watching Ken Burns. Do you know of Ken Burns?
Yeah, big baseball writer.
Yeah. He does a great. I think it's National Public Radio or KERA or something like that. He does a baseball like documentary, just like the history of baseball. And I'm like, ooh, maybe. I actually learned of. I was sitting in the car the other day. I was going to get gas, and I was listening to NPR. I listen to NPR in the car all the time, and National Public Radio, and I was listening to this little story about. Carmine, I was about to say Carmine Falcone, but that's a Batman character. No, like Carmine, up in New York, I guess that's when Barry Bonds was playing and things like that, and the doping scandal that happened with all of that, and them like giving up people, like trying to figure out who did what drugs, like the papers and all that. So anyway, definitely off topic, but I'm definitely become more interested in baseball as a overall, I guess I would say. After watching this movie. And so just like kind of to finish it off, that's the Duke. He's Willie Mays. He's on second base, so he's behind the pitcher, and I think at one point he kind of just gives up and throws the pitch to Jake Taylor, the Duke does, and that allows Willie to kind of round third and oh, okay. This is where I thought you were going to be very upset because I didn't even remember the ending of this movie. But Jake Taylor, he points off and he says he's going to like send it home, and the Duke throws it and actually hits him, the headhunter, so to speak.
Well, he throws it up and in, and Jake dodges it. They say he gives him a little chin music because he just kind of throws it up in his air hole, basically. And he dives out of the way, gets back up, dusts himself off, points again, like I'm going to hit a home run, and then lays down the bunt.
Yeah. then lays down the bunt out of nowhere. I was not expecting it, but definitely instead of sending it, just bunts it, and it allows all the outfielders to move back, and they were like, "Oh shit!" and then, like started running forward, and Willie's already at fourth, and then actually steals home, or I don't think that's the terminology.
He just scores,
goes to home. Yeah, so winning the game for them. So yay. I quite enjoyed that last part. I was not expecting a bunt compared to a home run. In all these baseball movies that you see, over the years, you always see obviously the final one being a home run or something like that. I've never seen The Sandlot. Apparently that's a good baseball movie, but yeah, it's funny that they kind of went with the bunt rather than the home run on this one.
Yeah, because it catches the team off guard, and that's why it's funny when Jake points like I'm going to hit a home run. He calls his shot, and the manager smiles because he knows that it was a bunt that they're going to do, and so he knows he's just trying to get them to back up.
Right? Yeah, that was pretty fun. And as we kind of get wrapped up there, celebrating. Roger Dorn, punches Charlie Sheen in the face, and then they go back to celebrating, and Jake Taylor sees his lady in the crowd. There's, we didn't mention it too much, but the dinner scene between, those two, whenever they were talking about, being old people, or, something about kids, and then them trying to be in the, I guess she was a swimmer. That's what it was, right?
She was an alternate on the 80 Olympic team.
Wow, yeah. So, swimming is another thing I really enjoy too. I don't know much about. So, let's see. I really don't have anything else. That's kind of where it plays out. I think it plays Wild Thing, if I'm right. Going out.
No, it plays that. It's like ding, 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 ding. Ding, 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 ding. It's like a slow piano type music.
Classic, I don't know, reminds me of like a music box or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, let's get into our likes then. Wayne, I'm gonna let you go first. What's some of your favorite parts of this movie?
I love the entire movie. There's really not a part that I dislike. The quotability of the movie is so fantastic. That's probably my favorite part. It's not so much a character or a scene. It's just how quotable so many of these scenes are. I always say certain scenes that make me laugh so there's the scene where Charlie Sheen, Rick Vaughn, he thinks he's cut, right? He sees the red tag in his locker. He goes into the manager's office, right? He's yelling at him. He goes, "You may think I'm shit now, but someday you're going to be sorry that you cut me. I'm going to catch on somewhere else. And every time I do, I'm going to stick it up your fucking ass." And he throws a baseball, dents the locker, right? And the coach, he goes, "Good. I like that kind of spirit in a player. The only problem is I didn't cut you." And he goes, "What?"
Yeah.
And so then he leaves without saying, "Sorry, I just barged in here and threw your ball." Right. He just runs out and tackles Dorn.
Kind of puts one and two together, and definitely figures out that Roger Dorn, that was messed up. I would be mad. I would be mad definitely if I was caught in that situation.
And like I said, just the way that Harry Doyle calls those baseball games. I mean, obviously the first pitch that Vaughn throws, the catcher has to dive for it because it's so far outside. And he's like, "Just a bit outside." He tried the corner and missed, and because he's doing radio, you can't see it, right? And then later when Willie Mays Hayes, he gets his first hit, he's just like, "Oops," and he accidentally hits the ball and dribbles over to the shortstop. And the call is, "Hey, here's a hot shot towards the hole. Rudy knocks it down, throws the first late. Hayes beat it. Hey, give Rudy credit for sacrificing his body on that racket. That guy's got a family to think about."
Right. Oh wow, yeah, no, he's great. He's great. Reminds me of just a lot of just those energetic. I've always enjoyed whenever we were younger. We lived, out in the country, so to speak, quote unquote. We wouldn't watch it; we would listen to it, and so I quite enjoyed the prophetic, announcer style that they have. Makes it a little bit more interesting. So yeah, I had to agree with you right there. Yeah, the definitely the announcers, they're a great part of the movie. I'd say three characters in particular: the announcer, Doyle, Jake Taylor, or excuse me, I was reading a wrong one, not Jake Taylor. Willie May Hayes, Wesley Snipes, And then also Lou Brown, the coach. He was just, the announcer, head coach, and then Wesley Snipes is Willie Mays Hayes. Just three great characters that I think are really stand out in this movie. The head coach doesn't really say too much, but definitely has that demeanor of like, I don't give a shit kind of coach.
I think that
I gotta say it
is one more reason for
it's a good baseball movie. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Oh no, that's fine. It's one more reason not to watch Major League 2 is because Willie Mays Hayes is not played by Wesley Snipes in Major League 2. He is played by Omar Epps, who is a good actor in his own right, but it's just a different actor. And the interesting thing about this, so Omar Epps plays Wesley Snipes, and Omar Epps is also in a movie called Love and Basketball, right, where he plays Quincy McCall. His dad in that movie is Dennis Haysbert.
Oh, weird. Huh. Isn't that a thing?
Yeah.
That's okay. I don't want to watch it because he's not in that movie.
Yeah.
Why would they do that character switch?
I think just Wesley didn't want to be in it.
Charlie Sheen? Oh, that's odd. That's an odd combo.
Yeah, I mean, they got pretty much every, I mean, Dorn's in it again. Dorn is awful in the second one. Because they try to make him like a walking joke. Like the movie starts off, Dorn buys the team from Rachel and he wants to turn them into a winner, but he's like bankrupt, so he can't afford any good players. But they try to make him a joke, and like he's like, I'm going to activate myself and play on the roster as the owner, and he tries to make all these goofy jokes, and it's really, really a bad movie.
Noted. And let's see. Speaking of bad things, let's get into our dislikes. I do not like Tom Berenger, Jake Taylor's romantic story. Just that whole, I don't know. We definitely could have, because I think it has Charlie Sheen. We should have either focused on Charlie Sheen, his side story, and then the game, without Jake Taylor's romantic interest in there. I think that would have made for a better movie. It makes it a little bit more compact. It's a comedy, so you kind of want to do that anyways, just to keep the laughs, per minute, I guess you would say.
Right.
But yeah, so I would definitely take out their portion. Sheen's character, not a fan of either. He, like I said earlier, he's just his, I guess, arc at the end with Roger Doran's wife is just I guess it didn't hit right with me, so yeah, I'll have to put that there. But is there, you said this is one of your faves, do you have any I guess not fond things to say of it?
There's nothing that I would say that I dislike about it. I think that the probably the thing I dislike the most would just be like the baseball stuff, right? Like I said, having a curveball specialist in the last game when you don't really need that. Just little things like that. But overall, like I said, there's very little about this movie that I dislike.
Yeah, baseball stuff. It's the good and the best part of the movie. Let's go into. Do you have anything else that you want to bring up before we kind of get into the closing segments and wrap up?
No, I think we kind of covered the whole movie. Like I said, we talked a lot about baseball and how it worked back in 1989 versus now.
Yeah. And this kind of bleeds into it. Our awards segment, I'm going to say if it's classic or bust. And I have to say this is a classic. I wasn't expecting to like this movie. I'm not really one for, Remember the Giants is a great, a sports movie, but I personally, I really love The Blind Side. That's my favorite sports movie. But going into this, I was like baseball, and it's just not being one of my top sports. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna like this, but I came out pleasantly surprised. It was a nice cast of characters, and it all melded really well. Other than I'd say though I dislike the love interest that Jake Taylor had and that just arc, it was funny the quips that Tom Berenger came up with relayed or whatever. So I'd definitely say classic.
Yep.
This is the second award, the award for the least important character. Who do you think the least important character of this movie is?
So if we don't count like the extras, right, who are just kind of walking around, just like who's the least important of the main-ish characters. I probably would go with the assistant coach, which is Pepper, is his name. He's only in a couple of scenes. Doesn't really have an impact. He doesn't make any decisions, but he is there. They reference him a couple of times. So probably because, again, you don't really hear him speak at all.
Yeah, I think the only times I really remember him is like a few times whenever he was in the dugout and then just standing in a weird position, or two, like whenever Mace Hayes came and like drove up to training camp. That's the only like two times I ever remember seeing him.
Yeah, he's in the dugout obviously during the Yankees game, and it's when Rick has just given up the grand slam, and he goes, "You want me to go get him, Lou?" And Lou Brown goes, "No, let's see how he reacts." And he hits the next guy.
Yeah.
Because I think you can go get him now.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I do have to agree with that. And I think I'm going to have to change my answer. I did put Roger Dorn's wife, just because I didn't get that whole arc, but now I'm thinking of Rachel Phelps always had that, businessman with her. I don't even think they even referenced him by name throughout the whole movie, but he's just like that henchman who actually, no, his name was Charlie. Actually,
Charlie Donovan. He's the GM.
Yeah, she's sitting up in the the balcony area, looking down on the games, being mad that they're winning, and Charlie being like yes, and like clapping along with everybody, and she's just mad that he's doing so.
Yeah. Well, and Charlie actually is the one who invites everybody to camp, right? He's the guy that talks to Lou Brown on the phone. He talks to Jake. Right, when Jake's like, "Is that you, Tolbert? This isn't funny, I'm hungover." Yeah. He is the one. He's the one that actually tells the coach about Rachel's plan. It's in the locker room after they beat the Brewers. I think they're in the locker room, and he's the one that mentions it to him. He says, Rachel Phelps will never allow that to happen, and that's when they create the standout with the cardboard cutout.
Yeah, and so like definitely like a mouth for Rachel in that way. So that's who I'm gonna back up to instead of Roger Dorn's wife, because now I'll piece it together. But I guess standout moments. You said a few of yours, and you're more than welcome to reiterate or say some more. But I think for me is definitely whenever they were all getting together there at the training camp. I really enjoyed just getting to know each one of them individually, and then it kind of reminds me of just like a police academy or something. I've never seen it, but you get these individuals who are funny in their own right, and then you throw them together. Like, I really enjoy the movie. I think one of these days I'll do a bonus episode, a monthly bonus episode about Cannonball Run, in Cannonball Run 2. I love those movies with
Burt Reynolds.
Name? Burt Reynolds, and I can't for the life of me remember his little co-star actor,
Dom DeLuise.
Dom DeLuise, thank you for being such an information source in this episode. Oh my goodness. But yeah, no, I love those movies. So it's like you had Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr. They were a team together. I just like think of these people who individually are hilarious, and then like just throwing them all together like in a movie like this, and then Cannonball Run as well. So yeah, I'd say that, and then I'd say the announcers as well. They were a definite standout.
Yeah, I mean they made it, like I said, and they're in Major League 2, and I think that I don't know if Harry Doyle is an announcer in Major League 3. He might be, but again, it's played by Bob Uecker, and I say one of the funniest impressions is when you watch Norm Macdonald on David Letterman. He does a Bob Uecker impression, and he sounds just like him. But he says that Bob Uecker is actually really funny in real life anyways, like in the stands when he's calling the games. And he tells just a funny story about like, whatever it is, CCR, John Fogerty. John Fogerty's out in the stands, and Norm's up in the booth with Bob Uecker, and he's like, he goes, "Hey man, you want me to call him up into the booth here? He'll sing a song for you." And Norm Macdonald's like, No, don't call him up here, sing a song.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, Norm Macdonald, anybody can impersonate him. Like, definitely got the voice to do it.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's just great with voices, or maybe that's laryngitis, but I don't know. I don't know anything about Norm Macdonald really, other than he's in Aladdin as the parrot.
Is he in Aladdin? No, you're thinking of Gilbert Gottfried.
Gilbert Godfrey, you are right. You are
Yeah.
right. I'm thinking of a different person.
Yeah. Norm Macdonald is a Saturday Night Live alum, right?
Yeah.
And he hosted the ESPYs. I want to say year 5 that ESPN had the ESPY awards, and he did it for the 1 year. They would never have him back again because he's one of those comedians that doesn't care. He's just going to say whatever. And like, he wrote a lot of his own jokes. Yeah. And one of my favorites in that series, this is when Charles Woodson had won the Heisman Award in his first defensive player ever to win the Heisman Award. And Norm Macdonald goes up to the podium. He's doing his monologue, and he goes, Charles Woodson over there, he won the Heisman Award, first defensive player ever. That's something nobody can ever take away from you unless you kill a waiter and your wife.
Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. SNL it's been in my life a lot recently. I've been talking about it on our other podcast, the Research Podcast, in conjunction with like the Amanda Show. I'm sure, I don't know if you have kids or whatnot, but I'm sure they know the Amanda Show. Yeah.
Maybe. I'm not 100% familiar with it.
How old are your kids?
13.
13. Okay. Maybe not. Maybe a younger generation. But yeah, I mean, other than that, let's go ahead and jump into our trivia segment. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I put here for mine, during the spring training section, the two coaches, walk behind the plate, to see Sheen throw. This is when he's like throwing those fastballs and wildly inaccurate, and everybody has to duck behind one of those nets. But we mentioned it earlier, no pepper,
Yep.
no peppering. That sign, nobody threw that ball. It was done by an actual pitching machine, that did that. And so I thought that was a funny thing to put in there, because I was like, oh, okay, I guess I didn't think about who was exploding the sign. I just knew it exploded.
Well, see, I like that the two coaches don't turn around initially. So the sign explodes when it hits. And the coach says, "Nice philosophy." The other coach goes, "Sounded like it." And Jake Taylor looks behind him. He goes, "Jesus." So then the head coach goes, "How much?" The guy looks at this radar gun. He goes, 96. It's better teach this kid some control before he kills somebody.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's what brought up the killing people earlier. Oh my gosh. What did you put for yours, Dwayne?
Yeah, I had an interesting piece of trivia is that Charlie Sheen's fastball in real life during this filming was in the high 80s, like 88, 89 miles per hour. He actually was offered a baseball scholarship to the University of Kansas out of high school.
Oh, wow. Oh my goodness.
So he was a real life pitcher.
So what would you say? You probably know baseball better. You know baseball better than I do. I'll just say it. What's like the average, I don't know, Joe Schmoes throwing mile per hour?
I would say your average starting pitcher probably throws around 92 is what I would guess, in that 92 to 93 range. Once you get into the mid 90s, like say 95, 96, you're starting to throw pretty hard. And then you have the real flamethrowers, the guys that can throw in the 99, 100 mile per hour range. The fastest pitcher right now in baseball is Aroldis Chapman. He has the fastest pitch at 105 miles per hour.
Man, I can only imagine throwing your arm out or whatever. Like I see it, like, you see it anytime you watch baseball or whatever. It's like people with the ice packs or whatever, they're in the bullpen. Like I like that whole culture of pitching. It's just interesting. I had this friend growing up named Connor who was just really into it, and I was just like, oh man, maybe I haven't given baseball a fair shake.
Well, it's definitely become more specialized, and the pitchers are a bunch of babies now, right? So they talk about pitch counts, right? Like once you get up to like 80, 85 pitches, they really start to monitor you. 100 is like the golden rule of taking a guy out. But you look at like back in like whatever day it was, Nolan Ryan, who was one of my favorite pitchers of all time, a guy who consistently threw in the 100 mile per hour range. He pitched one game. He threw all 13 innings of the game. He threw 235 pitches, and then he pitched again 4 days later.
Wow. Oh my goodness. That's a lot. No, I don't. Like I said, I don't think I've given. I'm thinking about it now. It's just running through my mind. I'm like, oh my goodness, like the history of baseball, the techniques, or the strategy of baseball. Anyways, I think I'm getting a little bit too crazy, but we're actually here at the end. So I know before we wrap it up, I want to definitely give a shout out to Wayne G's podcast again, Recasted. Wayne, do you want to let him know where to find you?
Yeah, for sure. Again, Recasted Podcast. You can find us, the podcast anyways, on every major platform. And on social media, you can find us on Twitter at Recasted Podcast and on Instagram at Recasted Podcast 8. So we'd like to post the rosters or the casts of the movies that we redo. Major League was the very first one we ever did. That goes way, way back, but now we're on to, for the second run, I think 7 or 8 episodes, and I'm not sure what our next movie is going to be, but we just did Gone in 60 Seconds. So I'd say if you like that movie, check it out and see whose cast you like better.
Yeah, definitely. I really enjoy going on YouTube and watching y'all talk it out there. And I think you make some nice graphics and you kind of blow up the, excuse me, the people or whatever. So yeah, like I said, big shout out to Wayne's podcast, to him and Jesse. Is that bi-weekly?
We do it weekly. We've kind of slowed on the YouTube videos because we found it wasn't driving a ton of traffic. And I said, let's focus on getting the audio good for now. And then we'll kind of revisit video later on down the road. Because, I mean, I do all the editing and I do all the YouTubes and I do all the promotion on social media. And so having to chop up those videos and put out 8 videos for every podcast is very time consuming.
Oh yeah, no, I'm right there with you. Making clips is probably my least favorite thing for doing the podcast. Though it's nice sound bites and stuff like that. So, yeah, thank you, Wayne. So, thank you everyone for listening to this week's episode of the You Haven't Seen That Movie podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Also, big thank you again to Wayne for joining me. I had a great time. If you want to show your support for the You Haven't Seen That Movie podcast, check out our Facebook at facebook.com/YHSTMP and our Instagram page at YHSTM podcast. Like this movie, hate it, let us know by calling our voicemail. Both Instagram and Facebook both literally have call buttons. So I think it's like two little clicks and you can be connected, be talking to us. You'll hear my voice at least. But if you don't have anything else, I guess we'll see everybody next week.
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing I'd add is that you said that if you like the movie, let us know. If you don't like the movie, don't you dare ever talk to us again.
Yeah, don't talk to Wayne. He loves this movie. I guess I'll see you soon, Wayne, for A Time to Kill again. Yep. Very excited about doing that again. I'll definitely bring in some more flavor, more than I did last time.
All right, sounds like a plan.
All right, man. See you next time. Bye. The You Haven't Seen That Movie podcast is a bi-weekly podcast recorded in the DFW, Austin, and San Antonio areas in the state of Texas. The podcast is hosted, produced, and edited by me, David Lonnie Waters.